Smart, bringing people together. And the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Monday. Good morning, Paul. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you as well. What date is it? It's Monday the 28th.
Yes.
All right, so we're almost at the end of October. I feel like this is one of those months that just swept by real quick. Like, Simia, bye.
Paul, that's how I've just been feeling about life recently.
Yeah, really?
Like, everything is just going by so quickly.
Yeah.
Yes. But wherever our viewers are this morning, thank you so much for joining us here, starting your morning right with us on Open Your Eyes. And of course, Paul, we try to give the people the latest topics. We try to talk about what's trending here on our morning show. So let's get right into it with our What's Buzzing segment. All right.
Yeah, so that music really adds some funk to your morning, right? That beat. Yeah, but it's definitely a good intro to our What's Buzzing segment. Right, and so April, you have a topic you want to start with?
Yes, so I said let's kind of dive into something that's been trending. I've been seeing it for I think the past couple of years actually. But I saw this on my Instagram feed about young persons running for office, particular persons about the ages of 25 and younger, between like 21 to 25, running for office. And in Belize, you know, that's not really like a big thing that happens where we see young people run for office. And I found it interesting that I saw this segment within the United States and other parts of the world that young persons are running for office because, and this is something that I found very interesting, that the pay rates, the fact that persons are not earning enough income. So this is what kind of propelled some of these young persons to run for office.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's sort of kind of on the rise in Belize, and so it's we have like young representatives or young individuals running in the city councils recently. You look date way back, you think about the young Cordell Hyde. You'll think about a young Patrick Faber maybe. And then of recent, of course, you think about the youths in the Belize City Council. You think about Eliud, and you think about youths running in politics. Perhaps now you could think about Devin Daly, Alan Pollard, these younger names and younger faces. But it's definitely something that we want, I think, as a population, to see an increase on younger representatives running, and not just because you want to hold a status or a position.
I think they want to make a difference, Pon. So this is the video that I was looking at this weekend, where, you know, these persons are running because they realize that the wages in certain areas, how bad inflation is, the high cost of living, but also one of their biggest concerns is that the persons that are in office cannot relate to young voters. And within the scope of Belize and other parts of the world, majority of the population are youths. And if your young persons are not relating to the policies, if your young persons are not relating to the persons that are in charge, the authorities and so forth, they're not going to vote. Right? And so it kind of decreases your chance for policy making, change making, and so forth if majority of your population is not voting. So what is it that you as a politician, you as somebody in government, you as somebody in authority, what are some of these laws, policies that you are trying to change and make for majority of your population? And I'm not really sure if that's a conversation that we're seeing. Yes, we see youth advocates and so forth saying we want change, we want this, we want that, but how much of the impact is your government providing, and how much of that impact are you seeing in your society? How much of those policy makings are you seeing changed in your society? So I think that's kind of what juxtaposed this particular BBC segment, because they're now looking at persons as young as 21 looking to run for office. I don't know if I've ever voted for somebody that young here,
and
right?
That's a reflection of our society, who we vote for, and oftentimes we don't vote for the younger because
we feel like they're not experienced, right?
And oftentimes the younger population may not have the type of finance to run a $1 million campaign, and even more in Belize is millions. In the US, you're perhaps talking about hundreds of millions, perhaps even peaking at $1 billion where campaigns are concerned. So, and then this is a UK, of course, this is a UK article, but I think here in Belize, strides are being made. Is there a lot of intentional focus on ensuring that youths are included? Perhaps just because we have international agencies and international obligations to meet. Sometimes we check boxes to say, all right, we've looked at this youth issue, we could check that box. We looked at this youth issue, we could check that box. And so then we issue our annual report to these international organizations, which we have obligations to. We could say, yes, see, we've looked at this youth issue and that youth issue, but are we investing enough behind these agendas? Are we investing enough behind these initiatives? That's the main question we need to ask. There are youth arms for certain government agencies. We're talking about youth parliament as one of those things. There's things that are happening.
Yeah.
But are we doing enough really?
And I think one of the other things that I got out of this is particularly the low voting rate in young persons. How many young persons do go to the polls to vote? Why do they go? Why do they not go? Right? And I always used to think about myself as a younger person, thinking that when I turn 18, I want to be able to be a part of that conversation, that decision-making conversation where I can tell my government, this is what I want, this is what I think is good for the community, and therefore I exercise my right to vote. However, how many of our young persons are actually having that conversation amongst themselves? What is it that they would want? Do they have that trust in the government to ensure that they get it? And I think that for other places in the international arena, it's becoming clear that things like inflation are drastically affecting things like rent, school fees, student loans, interest rates in other credit card and loanings and stuff like that. When you are, I think this is for the United States, when you are in college, you as an 18-year-old can go and apply for a credit card that gives you a limitation for about $20,000. If you are somebody that is not financially stable, you're going to take that and then get in debt. If you are somebody that needs to be able to be in school, you're going to be in debt. You know, all of these different things that at the age of 18 to 21, you are already thousands of dollars in debt with no way out.
Yeah.
So what are the policies to ensure that these things are being addressed and changed?
Yeah.
I know in Belize it's not that drastic. However, we don't have a large young population that goes to vote.
Yeah, indeed.
You see it when you go and cover this, right?
I see it, and I run in circles where the discussion is about who will vote for and what policies we find are worthy of supporting. And I also hear from circles that are just completely disenchanted by it all. And so definitely an interesting conversation, and it's a timely one because as we draw near to the general elections in March, well, I said March.
Well, also the U.S. is having their elections
November 5th.
November, yes.
That's for their voters to really muster up support and ensure that they go out and vote, and then it impacts us to a degree, but what really matters here in Belize is the general elections. But here's who's not gonna go out and get a chance to vote if it rains. The residents of J&W in Belmopan. This is one of those other buzzing topics. We talked about the rains as we came on the show this morning. Well, in Belmopan, they saw as much rains as we did across the country in Belize City. They rained for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, there's a subdivision in Belmopan called J&W. And right now, and I say right now generally because I understand the water has subsided significantly, but right now they're like an island. Every time it rains, the one or two access in or exits into the subdivision gets flooded. And this weekend it was so bad. I saw many people railing over how they've had to hunker down and they've been unable to get out of the community, and some even got stranded outside of the community and unable to access their homes. And sometimes I think about if an emergency is to occur within the community, how bad of a case that would pose. Now I understand a bridge is being constructed. In fact, the bridge is almost complete. some would say in technical terms that the bridge is complete and it's just the entrance ramp or the exit ramp on both sides that needs to be completed, and that's a welcome sign. It's welcome news, but I also hear residents complaining about the fact that there wasn't a contingency plan in place for occurrences like this, so that residents can move freely to and from their homes to access basic needs and basic services in the event we get these torrential rains. And so it's one of those concerns I think we've been raising for years, in fact, and of recent it's gotten really bad. There you see the bridge is almost complete, and I wanted to bring it up to let the residents of GNW know that we hear them, and I think the government, especially the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, seems to be trying to work overtime now to get the bridge completed, but in the meantime, we have an island in the capital city.
And you know, I'm glad you raised this this topic, Paul, because I think that for a lot of persons that are trying to buy land in Belmopan, normally this would be the area. This is where a lot of persons are getting
lands are available.
JNW, I think the Egola estate is back there. There are a lot of other small residential spaces, more so to the back,
goes towards Cotton Tree.
And yes, and so what a lot of people don't realize about this JNW area is that it's quite large and it connects to the for those of you that know in Belmopan, to the Mopan area. So if you ever Google an address for JNW, it might take you all the way around to the Mopan area. And there is a creek. There is a stream that separates these two different lots. So it's not just like passable by your car or anything like that. It's quite a large creek.
And then when it floods,
it does flood. Some parts of the JNW area are not severely flooded like you showed there, Paul, but that particular entrance to the JNW is crucial because that is actually the only main entrance to the highway and to main Belmopan from the JNW community.
Yeah, so I just raised it to perhaps say that there was a lack of proper planning, and now we're putting things in place when the subdivision was first created. But all in all, I'll punctuate that buzzing by saying, free the JNW people and free them from the island.
They are
give them access, man. Let's get that bridge completed.
And not just that, but now this is and I know we have other topics to discuss, but it's a great opportunity to have these discussions about emergency plans, right? Emergency exits when you are building a community, when you are creating new residential areas and new plots, and so to give to people. This is one of those crucial elements that you need: a way in and a way out. So thank you so much for raising that, Paul. And that does it for our What's Buzzing topics. If you have any topics that you would like for us to cover on the show, write it in our comments below, and you never know if we might be able to touch on it in our next morning. But it is Monday, Paul, and what we do here every Monday is we give our viewers a little bit of the eye on the news.
All right, so I smiled because I had to sigh before jumping into this first topic. 1 week after, approximately 1 week after the Alliance for Democracy held its national convention, and honestly, not a lot has changed. I think that the supporters at that national convention expected some sort of rippling effect, some sort of snowball effect, in whereby this convention would have solidified the leadership of Ms. Panton and her executive team that was appointed there, and that would create a swift snowball downhill, which would have led to the headquarters at the Youth for the Future Drive, them taking over the headquarters at the Youth for the Future Drive. Well, no such thing has happened over the last 7 days. We've had our eyes on it. Really, there's just been a lot of back and forth over the last 7 days. We've seen Mr. Anthony Boots Martinez hold a press conference in front of the UDP headquarters. We've seen where Brian Yellowman Ardinet was behaving what some would describe as boisterously in front of the UDP headquarters, hurling curse words and derogatory words against the leader of the opposition, Moses Shine Barrow. And then what we've been also seeing, we've been seeing both groups or bodies using the UDP letterhead. And then on Friday it came to a head when Ms. Panton and her team used the letterhead to say that the UDP letterhead to tell the leader of the opposition that we outrightly reject your proposal for a coalition. And then the same Mr. Barrow and his team came back with a response saying we condemned Tracy Panton's ADP fraud. In other words, cautioning her to stop using the UDP's letterhead, and also putting in there a warning to the media to say, hey, you guys stop using the UDP's name in relation to the Alliance for Democracy.
Yeah, it says it right there. Media houses are asked to refrain from disseminating false information.
So basically I'm paraphrasing what is being said there. So there hasn't been a great deal of progress, and I hear people describing it now as not UDP, but 2DPs. And I find it quite funny that we've got to this point now where the United Democratic Party is less and less a viable opposition and a viable option for office come the general election in 2025.
So we did have the Honorable Tracy Panton on the show last week, and one of the questions that we had posed was, what does their constitution say? Because they're both not just using the letterhead, but utilizing the constitution to justify their actions. They're both saying we are within our rights as members of the UDP, as abiding by the UDP constitution to make these moves. And it just seems that, and when we also said what happens if the general election comes out February, right? Will we have a viable opposition? Because this has been going on for the better part of almost 2 years. The internal disputes, the internal arguments, the fractures, and so forth. It's kind of like a scratch record at this point. We feel like there is no source of action being taken unless they go to the courts, unless there is legal action that's taken for a judge to say, all right, this is what's going to be the final verdict. Even
that, we're not sure what sort of jurisdiction a court may have over the UDP's constitution. So that's also a question being asked, and Ms. Panton and her team has stated that they have a strategy and they don't want to show their hands. But I think what's happening in the psyche of the supporters that went to that AFD convention is that the longer they take to put their strategy into play, to show that they in fact are serious and are here to take over, the more the confidence that support showed, the more that confidence dwindles. And indeed. So it's something that must be timely, and it's something that must be efficient, and it's something that must be now. The biggest question is, where does this go from here? And for sure, we'll keep our eyes on this one to see what happens next. I just had to bring it up as a hey, by the way, It's been 1 week.
Yes, it has
and all we've seen is really nothing at all in terms of
more internal fighting.
Right, in terms of AFD taking over. And so you say, like you say, you can't play checkers with the leader of the opposition because he's a chess player and he's very strategic about his moves.
I just think that at the end of the day, somebody has to back down, and both sides are not looking like they are going to do that, or they feel obligated to do that, or they feel like it's the right thing to do. So we are going to keep our eyes out on this. It goes back to our first conversation this morning, Paul. What are you doing to inspire your voters? What are you doing to ensure the confidence of your voters, to let them know, hey, we are a viable opposition. We are here to create change. We're here to create policies. I can't tell you if I have heard them give a proper, media statement about what they think about the issues. What I know we have our house meetings and so forth, but it's all of the backlash that makes the news that people remember. People are not listening to your policy change. They're looking at you both fighting, trying to get a seat of power.
Indeed,
which,
exactly.
It doesn't make sense for us when it comes to
So even if they try to share their policies, what we'll ask is, all right, why are you trying to fix the country when you have your issues internally that you need to deal with? Anyway, so UDP, AFD, 2DP, we'll definitely keep our eyes on that one. In the second conversation for Eye on the News, though, April, last week we basically unveiled a very disturbing story coming out of the capital city of Belmopan, where a young lady accuses her husband and her husband's family of abducting her, basically holding her against her will, sexually assaulting her, physically assaulting her, and basically giving her noxious matter. I had to look that up, and I found that these people basically poisoned her, or gave her chemicals, a strong drug to an extent, allegedly, according to the charges that was against this family. And so on Friday, a team including myself and Kenroy Michaels went to the courthouse in Belmopan for their arraignment, and that's where we kind of got into a back and forth with family members of this the Teul family that were outside the court. In one instance, when the police mobile was loading them up to cart them off to the Belize Central Prison, where they're on remand until January 22nd. One of the what happens in these cases is we try our best to get comments from those who are accused, right? We always do. This is not something new. We always try. Sometimes police are heavily guarded, and sometimes they're just put in inside the vehicle itself and not in the cab, so we don't get a chance to see them. But in this case, we had an opportunity that I saw fit to seize upon. And then if the police tells us to move respectfully, we listen to them and we move off. But in this case here, I saw an opportunity to at least throw a question at the Teul Senior and Teul Junior, and that's when a young man who identified himself as a son, or actually as family member, and he did say father at one point, tried to intervene and actually began pushing my mic away and began pushing me away and letting me know, hey, stop asking questions, these are my families and friends. I'm responding to tell him I'm doing a job, basically. And in those moments, I'm not thinking about who you are, what you can do. To me, I am 100% in my reporter mode. And so the police officer, one of the police officers, saw what was happening and saw that he was getting physical. And so he decided to intervene and move both of us away. We respectfully moved away. And then afterwards, I turned the camera to him. He's a family member. He's an adult. All right, if you're defending your family, clearly I think that you believe that this is off and that they're being wrongfully accused. So I turned to him and I'm like, hey, so do you want to say anything? And then, of course, he was showing himself, so I had to give him the opportunity to truly show himself. And he did not want to respond, and he got a bit physical in the end. But in the end, the story here is that the family of four, in an unprecedented case, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in Belize, got arraigned. Bail was denied, and they are on remand at the Belize Central Prison. So one of the things that I wanted to touch, though, is the fact that the Commissioner of Police said in an interview following the arraignment that he doesn't believe the identities of the perpetrators should have been released. He said that his press office released it, and afterwards he realized that he should have advised them against releasing the footage. Now, I understand where the Commissioner of Police is coming from, and I have to speak on this matter with a great deal of sensitivity. He's saying that when you identify the husband, you identify the wife, because those who know the husband knows who the wife is. And I get that. I get that those who know will build the connection. But on the other hand, I also see a great deal of people saying that revealing the names will put the public on their feet in terms of who to be cautious of if these individuals are actually guilty of this crime. Then God knows what else they could do out there to whoever. And I hear people saying that this young lady will in fact not be victimized because she has nothing to be ashamed of. It's not her fault. She's not in the wrong. In fact, she will receive a great deal of public support. What kind of worried me was when the Commissioner of Police said that moving forward, they will have to guard against these types of things, against these types of releases. And it's a thin line you're walking between your authority as a Commissioner of Police and media censorship. There's a thin line there, and it's a very controversial line. But what I will say is that the police department, neither the police department or the Commissioner of Police or any government or public official is the guardian of public information. It's the public that's the guardian of public information, and I know that there are some cases that are sensitive, but to say that, oh, we have this thing on lock and we'll be the guardians, I think you're definitely walking a thin line between media censorship and what your authority and your role is as a public officer. Because at the end of the day, the Commissioner of Police is a public officer.
I hear it, and I understand. I also heard the Compol statement on that, and I would have also tossed in their past history, because you don't know if these persons have done this before and who will come out.
Indeed,
of this.
I like that.
So I have to agree to a certain degree that there is a thin line where you cross, and I think every case is different and sensitive. In this particular case, like I completely agree with you. This is not somebody that the public will scrutinize. This is somebody that we're going to want to embrace and show that support, because we have never seen something like this before that requires a deep amount of empathy and support. It just came out that she was pregnant.
Yeah,
and they had her under these conditions. You know, it kind of adds more fuel to this fire. How can we have allowed somebody like this to be walking and be our neighbor and so on? So your statement is absolutely right. I do understand to some degree, some levels, when it comes to certain cases where just certain victims, there's children. You know, I get that. Let's say you have somebody that requires protection from somebody that they're in danger of. If you haven't captured them, I would have imagined that you would need to have witness protection. I get all of that. Every case is absolutely different. That does require a degree, a level of privacy on the part of the police department. But it is the public's right to know the information. Yeah. But we are going to be keeping up with this story as well. I do know that now that they're not set for bail, and they're going to be remanded to prison until next year. Yeah. So we are going to be keeping up with this particular story as well.
Yeah, and so with that, we're going to jump right into our weather for this morning. I want to say thank you for keeping our eye on the news at the forefront of your minds on a Monday morning. These stories and more will continue to cover and follow up on, especially on our social media pages and our nightly newscast, which is at 6 p.m. tonight.
That does it for our Eye on the News. And as Paul mentioned, we have been experiencing rains and floods and so forth. And so let's see what the folks at the National Meteorological Service have with that weather update this morning.
Good morning, Belize. Moist and unstable conditions continue to prevail. The 24-hour forecast for Belize and her coastal waters calls for mostly cloudy skies today and tonight. A few showers, periods of rains, and isolated thunderstorms will continue to develop mainly offshore and some coastal areas this morning, then mainly over inland areas this afternoon. Tonight and tomorrow morning, a few showers or isolated thunderstorms will develop mainly along coastal areas. High temperatures for today will range from 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 85 inland and 74 over the mountains. Tonight, low temperatures will be 75 along coastal areas, 72 over inland, and 65 in the higher elevations. The winds will blow from the north to northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea state will be light chop to choppy. A high tide will occur at 7:28 a.m., followed by a low at 1:54 in the afternoon. Another high occurs at 7:48 tonight and a low at 2:14 a.m. The sun rose at 5:50 a.m. and will set at 5:22. The moon will set at 3:12 this afternoon and comes up at 3:30 tomorrow morning. The outlook for Tuesday and Tuesday night is for cloud intervals, along with a few coastal morning showers or isolated thunderstorms. Then a gradual decrease is expected. In the sargassum forecast, sargassum impacts are expected to remain minimal for the next 2 weeks. And in the tropical weather outlook for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formations are expected over the next 48 hours. And that's your morning forecast that was prepared here at the National Meteorological Service.
Thank you to the folks at the National Meteorological Service for that update. It seems like it's going to continue to rain, so stay dry out there, folks. Jumping into our rundown for this morning, our first conversation is going to be with UNICEF, NCFC, and the Community Rehabilitation Department within the Ministry of Human Development, Families, and Indigenous Peoples Affairs. They're going to be in to talk to us about the national consultation they've had with children on the General Comment 27 on access to justice and effective remedies.
And then our second and third conversation, we'll be talking about living better, living healthier lifestyles. We'll be joined by a cardiologist to speak with us about the journey of heart health. And then after that, we'll be joined by the oncology unit at the KHMH, as well as a retired surgeon to speak about cancer care. So heart care, cancer care with KHMH breast cancer specialists.
And in our fourth and final conversation, we will be having folks from Peak Outsourcing Belize and their current hiring initiatives ahead of their open house. So you don't want to miss these conversations and more, but we got to take the break first, and we'll be back with UNICEF, NCFC, and the Ministry of Human Development, Families, and Indigenous Peoples Affairs. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
show. Ay yung kahalan sa Kopal Tree Lodge. Keron ni kahalan ay lain sa Kopal. Kakui bartending kakui an keron ni mano lain. Lain ni usara Belize Bank mobile app. Hanak na usara uta hana ATM. Utin card. Araw kay balbas Chankiron sa usare ut kolore na notification chira phone na mensajes araw ta kin kolore ta kala harup chitumin sa usare ut araw ta naw nak sa chabilo wang gatumin.
There's an old proverb that says, "He who has health has hope, and he who has hope has everything." We showcase that hope from discussions on health and wellness, climate change, and updates on NCDs and a lot more. Stay tuned to Caribbean Medical TV.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
They'll name you 100 reasons to step back. But when you achieve your goal, they will follow you. Gorilla, make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Remember, not all light bulbs are created equal. Our lighting department offers a wide assortment of light fixtures and accessories to suit your style. So stop in today and get the right illumination for your homecation. And don't forget your B-Box when you make a purchase. Benny's, quality and savings.
Are you a dynamic and charismatic personality with a passion for storytelling? Do you have a unique voice that captivates audiences and a talent for bringing stories to life? We are looking for fresh faces who are energetic, engaging, and natural in front of the camera or microphone. If you are passionate about acting or voice work, we want to see what you've got. To register, email producer@channel5belize.com or call 670-6068.
Upcoming enhancements to My Social Security. The new healthcare provider feature seamlessly connects healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers to facilitate the payment of sickness benefits. Here are the enhancements. Registered healthcare providers will create and submit online medical certificates using their healthcare provider accounts. Insured persons will receive a link to view the medical certificate to complete and submit their sickness benefit claim. And employers will receive an email notification of their employees' sickness claim. Also, the insured person and their employer will receive a copy of the claim decision letter after review. Healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers are encouraged to create a portal account to access and benefit from these new services on My Social Security at ssbportal.org.bz. My Social Security online portal. Social Security at your fingertips.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. Joining us for our first conversation about justice and effective remedies when it comes to children. We have with us no stranger to the show, Miss Melanie Barnes, and she is the Child Protection Officer over at UNICEF. Good morning.
Good morning.
And joining her is Miss Ana Carrillo, and she is from the Child and Adolescent Participation Officer at the NCFC. Good morning.
She's also not a stranger to
She's also not a stranger to the show.
In different capacities.
Yes, a lot of our recurring guests, sometimes they come in different hats and you have to ask them, so which one you do wear?
Yeah, correct.
But in this particular conversation, which I think is very important to have, we are touching on the UN's General Comment 27 on access to justice and effective remedies. Let's talk about this particular concept of the General Comment 27, and then we move on from there. Let's start with you, Ms. Barnes.
Yes, so good morning again, and thank you so much for this opportunity to engage with you and talk about some of the work we're doing to increase children's participation, right? So going to General Comment 27, it's part of the UN's Convention on the Rights of a Child celebration for 35 years. And what they normally do is they would look at some of those rights and do an assessment to see where countries are at any given time. And within the last few years, they've noticed that the issue of access to justice for children has not been really being addressed. So the UNCRC has decided that their comments for the 27th round of review, which is called the General Comments 27, would focus on access to justice for children and immediate remedies. So that's talking about alternative sentencing, diversion, so to keep them out of the justice system.
And in terms of this collaboration, you are all asking 100 children to participate, asking them interview questions and so forth. What is the age range?
The age range is from 10 to 18 to 17. And we are getting the kids or the children from across the country. So we are busing them into one location and then have them all participate. On Friday we had a prep session, and to give them an idea of what to expect, bring them more in giving them an orientation to the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and a little bit on the justice, because we don't want to give them our ideas or what we are thinking. We want them to create their own comments and give us in the consultation and then share that with us.
What are the what are the questions that are asked to these children?
So the consultations will focus on three main areas for children. We're asking them about their lived experience in terms of their interaction with the justice system. And that they will be able to talk about, because we have a wide range of children, including those who are in contact with the justice system for whatever reason, whether it's because of even the SOEs. And then we're asking them about what they know of the legal system as it relates to children, and linked to their rights as children under the CRC. And finally, we're going to ask them about any specific recommendations they have on how we can, as a country, improve their access to justice.
Do we gather that based on recent or past communications with the children, that they have a concept, have grasped the concept of justice and what the justice system has been established to do?
Well, from my experience working with them, they have the concept of what they have learned in school, but they stay with a lot of questions. Where do they fall in the paradigm of it all? In my capacity, we are working with increasing their participation as children and having a voice. And by doing that with our National Children's Parliament, that has opened up a lot of opportunities for them to start to look at putting things in the legislative system and then turning it into law, passing it into law. And then having that concept of, okay, I have already participated in this aspect, now I want to see what I am contributing to making it a law, and that it is fair and just for them.
When you're talking to these kids, and I guess let me take a step back. Prior to this particular exercise, when we're looking at the way that kids are involved in the justice system, whether they have been affected or indirectly or directly, how do you see the comment of General 27 being changed per se in terms of beliefs?
I think there has been some significant actions at the policy level in terms of making sure that we include access to justice for children as a priority. There is a diversion policy that is being manned by the Community Rehabilitation Department that ensures that children who come in contact with the law have access to diversion instead of, going into the system. Although it requires constant advocacy, constant monitoring, there has been some significant gains. I think now having an opportunity to hear from the children, especially those who have most interacted with the system, what it has been like for them, their lived experience, as we say. We have an opportunity as a country to effect legislative change that then looks at the access or the immediate remedies from the perspective of the child.
What are the primary issues that leads a child to have to interact with the justice system, and is it all bad?
Well, in what we have seen is a lot of them is based on probably relationship or networking with people that probably encourage the behavior and then get them engaged. Not necessarily, some of them don't know that they are getting engaged and then getting caught is the other part of it, right? Or having to stand in front of a judge and all of that. Presently at NCFC, I know last week we were here talking about our mock trial. That is our first-hand experience with the children that we are preparing. We are seeing that they are very much curious on what it is to put yourself in a situation, and also not only in a situation of being an accused and trying to prove your case, but also being a person of, if this is where I want my life to take me, because they are learning the basics, but then from here they want to become advocates for change. And they can only have that when we empower them, when we give them that space. And in this case, we are seeing that there's a lot of curiosities because they're learning new terms, they're learning the system, they're learning how to interact within the system. And I would want that a lot of other children get this opportunity so that for themselves and also for their friends or within their communities, they can be advocates too.
Perhaps there's an opportunity here to change or reshape the way we as a society often view the justice system as a negative body, as a negative entity that's there to carry out of jail or only there when you do something wrong, but more to see it as what it's truly meant to be, which is to keep the peace in society, to ensure that justice is served, especially to families that are grieving, etc. So is that a part of the idea, to change the way we view the justice system as a society from a negative to a positive entity, and starting with children at that?
Yes, definitely want to help them to see it as a protective mechanism for them, not just, you know, from the negative side as you have mentioned. One of the things we've tried to do is with NCFC, UNICEF in partnership with NCFC and with the Ministry of Human Development is to always create opportunities for children to be a part of the conversations, especially the decision-making conversations, which is linked to when you're talking about legislative reform, how are we viewing these spaces that it is safe for children, right? So definitely want to change that narrative.
I was going to ask that question, but I wanted to go on the lines of more on how the UN, UNICEF, and CFC and so on, because you are all branches of policy-making spaces. What are your measurables and what is your impact when it comes to this particular, or proposed impact when it comes to this particular project, and how you plan to measure the progress moving forward after it's done?
For us, we want to keep them engaged. We don't want that they feel that it is a one-off situation. Right. Because then we're now no longer creating spaces for them. We are just creating an opportunity and then the opportunity finishes. We want to create spaces where they can have that voice to express what's going on, and maybe not only about justice, but about other issues that they're affected with on a day-to-day basis. I had shared with Ms. Barnes when we were at one of our training sessions this weekend, the kids have, the way they're expressing themselves and they're sharing their feelings towards justice and saying, in my thought before, I thought we're just going to put the bad man in jail and it over with. And then they're saying, no, we are seeing that this system can be just and fair. And to me, that, and Justice Moore was with us, and that just like wowed us, because we were like, we didn't put that in them. They created that for themselves. So by giving them that space, I think that opens more opportunities.
And I think that one of the ways that Belize has been able to progress when it comes to rehabilitating some of our youths and so forth that have had conflict in the justice system is through the New Beginnings program. And just in time, joining us is Miss Carmeli Fritz, and she is the girls supervisor over at the New Beginnings organization. Good morning, Ms. Fritz. I would like your input in this conversation as we're talking about the access to justice and effective remedies. What has your experience been like at the rehabilitation center with these youths?
Okay, well, having been working with the youths at the facility, these children are especially vulnerable. They have been in conflict with the law, they have been at risk for harm or have been harmed, and so they have been open to the justice system before, and so they have expressed a lot of concerns, a lot of fears and challenges that they have that create barriers to them receiving adequate and effective justice. And so we have several talks preparing for the consultation on Friday, and they are excited, they are empowered to have their voices heard and to make a difference for themselves who are currently in the system and for those who may enter the system.
What can you share in terms of some of the concerns they've raised about their interactions with the justice system? And I like that you're here, because it's one thing to hear from youths that one would hope that may interact, but one hope does not have to interact with the system. But it's another thing to hear from young people that have actually interacted with the system and are still deeply entrenched within it for whatever reason. What are the concerns you've heard?
Well, several. When we brought the context of their rights to them, a lot of them did not know that they had rights. They did not know that they could exercise them or they could seek help. Another issue is in the system there is a dependency on adults. We depend on teachers, on social workers, on our parents. While they are obligated through the CRC to lend some support, there is like a bottleneck that the children depend on them. And I believe that while we are advocates for our children as adults in the system, we need to teach them to advocate for themselves. And so that's another barrier, that they depend on adults and they need to learn to advocate for themselves. And one last thing would be the fear and stigma that they experience when they enter the justice system, whether it's by force or by just for a means of social protection. They feel that once they speak up or try to advocate for themselves, they get judged, they get punished or excluded.
How does empowering these children with this knowledge help to build them and give them a smooth reintroduction into society?
Okay, so at New Beginnings, and even in its entirety, the mandate of Community Rehabilitation Department, that New Beginnings falls under, we are to rehabilitate them when they come into our system. So within that rehabilitative framework, we build up their self-esteem, we build up their self-confidence, we build up their advocacy skills so that they can always be empowered, because that's important. We want them to feel empowered to speak up for themselves, and it helps them to navigate the system, because these are children who still have to go to court, perhaps to testify as victims or as survivors of abuse, or even as defendants in the court system. And so it teaches them how to navigate and not be afraid of the system, because the system itself is scary, going to court, going to
even as an adult,
it's scary.
So it really does build their self-confidence and their self-esteem and their advocacy skills.
I love
when it comes to this particular program and the participation of these 100 kids, and how were you all able to gather them? Were they selected? Were they applicants? How did this process work?
So we had a specific criteria in terms of who we wanted in the space. As we mentioned, we wanted children who have some experience in advocating. So those would be the children from NCFC who have been in Children's Parliament. We wanted to also include children who had some contact with the justice system. So across the country, CRD is mobilizing children who had some contact with the system. We also wanted to include children in these discussions that are in conflict with the law, so that we have a well-rounded discussion from all perspectives, and not just people or children talking about what they perceived or what they think. And so UNICEF shared this criteria with our partners, and they mobilize the young persons that interact with their system.
What happens after they have completed this this participation, this training, if you will?
Okay, so it's after the consultations, a young person has been identified from Belize. This is the immediate next step, who will go to Panama for the regional level consultations with justice actors, and will be a part of a group of young people, adolescents from 24 countries within the region, the Latin America and the Caribbean region. And they will compile a set of recommendations that is reflective of our region to present to the justice actors regionally. And they will also then, these actors then now have a responsibility to share with the global CRC what are the recommendations coming out of our region to improve access for justice for children in our region. So that's the first immediate next steps. What we want to do following that is to continue to scale up these spaces for children to have an input, or have these policy level dialogues. So NCFC is already doing that with the National Children's Parliament, as well as the Children's Justice League, and we want to make sure that we we try to bring in as much partners who are engaging, interacting with adolescents and youth to be able to create those spaces and sustain those spaces where their voices are heard.
That's incredible. Ladies, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. This is the week that they're starting their consultation.
Yes. On Friday, right?
On Friday.
Yes.
And so we
Let's
wish
get,
them...
as we wrap up, a brief overview of what's happening on Friday so that we clearly understand. You have them all in a room and we're all asking.
Right, so it's to get them to one space and to create an environment where they are comfortable to share their thoughts and feelings. Also, not only that, but also there is going to be some discussion areas where they would be grouping together and breakout sessions and interacting with other people, not necessarily only Children's Parliament together or anything like that. It would be where we mix them up and then have them the opportunity to hear from each other. Because like some of us have not experienced certain things, and the same thing would happen to them. That they would then have a better appreciation and create a stronger advocacy for just and fairness.
Wonderful. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we wish all of your participants the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving on, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, it's all about that cancer care. We have our friends from the KHMH here with us to talk to us more about cancer care in Belize. We'll be right back.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Aiwa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Aiwa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Aiwa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Aiwa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Aiwa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
My name is Hermine Vega. El Patio Grill has been using Belize Bank for over 25 years. We only use Belize Bank at our restaurant. That's why we were able to win this trip to Europe. I had never been to Europe. We found out it was Madrid and we were excited and we went to this football match. The teams reached before the game and everybody was just outside, you know. You can't explain, the noise just roared like 3 blocks down the street, but when you got in there and you saw 70,000 people in there, that was amazing. I couldn't believe it was happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real, you know, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I'd say. My lucky plus one was my son. He's 18 years old, so he was really excited and he enjoyed it as well. He said it's his best trip ever, so it's a priceless experience that we got. Belize Bank has always been there for me. Whatever transactions or whatever I need to do, they're always there for me. I would recommend everybody to use Belize Bank. It's the oldest bank in our country and they continue to do their best.
Are you a dynamic and charismatic personality with a passion for storytelling? Do you have a unique voice that captivates audiences and a talent for bringing stories to life? We are looking for fresh faces who are energetic, engaging, and natural in front of the camera or microphone. If you are passionate about acting or voice work, we want to see what you've got. To register, email producer@channel5belize.com or call 670-6068.
And welcome back. This is our second conversation for this morning, and it's all about cancer care with KHMH. So we have joining us this morning, we have Dr. Ramon Yakab, who's a head of the oncology unit at the KHMH, as well as Dr. Alonzo Walker, who's a retired professor of surgery. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to have both of you. Thank you both for joining us. This is an important conversation to have. I think that recent reports in our newscast showed that there's been a rise in cancer cases here in Belize. Was breast cancer one of those that we've seen a rise in, Dr. Yakab?
Yes, absolutely. There has been a rise in cancer cases, and breast cancer is the leading cause of cancer here in Belize. Actually, we're seeing quite an amount of women coming very frequently with either a suspicion or a clinical diagnosis of breast cancer.
Well, what are, I think perhaps the most obvious question is, what's leading to this?
It's very difficult to say a cause. We do know that there are different factors that can lead to a cancer. Some of them we can't change.
But we've seen an acceleration in this for the past 10 years, I would say. Well, in my generation, everywhere.
Yes, it has. And I mean, it also talks about the different environmental factors that people can be exposed to. Also, the increase in population. As we know, when we compared population with Belize a few years ago, we had an exponential rise. So all of these are factors that can play a role. And just by numbers, it will continue to increase. We know that in the next 10 years, we'll have probably between 100% increase from the number of cases we're seeing. Wow. So what we're seeing with cancer on a whole is around 400 per year. In the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to be seeing around 800 cases here in Belize.
Dr. Walker, why is it that we can't just put a stop to it? We can't just press a button and say 400 within the next decade, we'll only report on 200 cases. Why does the situation seem so hopeless and lost?
Well, actually, it is not hopeless and lost. Okay. Now, to the point that Dr. Yakab is making, and your question about what you're seeing, that may be, and hopefully it'll be to increase awareness. And this is what Dr. Yakab wants to do, not only about cancer in general, but because of the increasing numbers that you're seeing of breast cancer, what can be done about it? Because what you want to do is increase awareness of cancer in general, and because of the increased number of breast cancers that you are observing, what can you do about it? What should you do about it? At the same time, efforts are being put forth to increase the awareness, which is what Dr. Yakab wants to do in terms of his practice. And with what he has shown me since I've been here, focusing primarily again on breast cancer, the kinds of cases he's seeing. That is important when it comes to awareness and what he knows what needs to be done. And the question is, can we do some of those things to have women see women when they're earlier on, when, let's say, the cancer is more easily treatable, as opposed to what he has shown me since I've been here and on last year. A lot of the cases he's seeing, they're coming in at a late stage.
Wow. Yeah.
And we want to avoid that, because the later the stage,
the harder it is to treat.
The harder it is to treat. And he has to make decisions about how to treat and what to treat.
Right. I wanted to ask because there is no preventative mechanism. There is no way to prevent any type of cancer, breast cancer, and so forth. So for us as young adults, as women, men, because men can get breast cancer too,
yes,
FYI,
yes.
right? How often should we come in for checkup, and at what early age should we start to come in? I know it's not something we think about, you know.
That's a very good question.
Yes.
The first thing is we always have to go back to factors. Not everyone is gonna have the same. Is gonna be on the same cap here. Well, we have the average population women who we generally start with when we talk about screening. And most of the time we're thinking only about mammograms, starting the age of 40 and above. However, even before we reach the age of 40, it's important that women recognize their body, know what's normal. So if there's any suspicious symptoms, they're able to know why. Why do they need to step into their GPs? Why do they need to go to their health centers for evaluation? Because we do have breast cancers coming in patients before the age of 40. But that doesn't mean that all the population will start at 40. There are certainly a smaller percentage of women who have family history of cancer, a mother, a sister, who's had other types of treatments which can increase the likelihood of developing cancer. So in those persons, we generally start below the age of 40. So it's not that everyone starts at 40. We have to individualize your case.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about the stages that we're seeing. I know Dr. Walker alluded to it, but what's the highest volume when it comes to stages that we're seeing coming in?
Sure. Let me put that into perspective.
Yes,
probably by numbers.
Yeah.
If we have 10 women coming into the clinic with breast cancer, 1 was caught through mammograms. 1 is a patient with a stage 1 breast cancer. 1 out of those 10. 2 are patients with stage 2 breast cancers that they felt it and immediately they recognized there was something abnormal and they went to their clinic for further testing. The other 7 patients are patients who are coming in already with a stage 3 breast cancer, which is around 3 patients, if you may, out of those 10. Those are patients who, if think of it like imagine an orange. That's the size of a tumor that patients are coming in. And I want that to settle in because these are women who have had, for most part, symptoms happening for months before they even go for a first assessment to their clinic. And then we have 4 women coming in with stage 4 cancers.
What, based on your experience, Dr. Walker, kind of prevents or gives these women a false sense of security even when they sense that something may be odd or abnormal about what I'm feeling?
Well, that's a very good question because a lot of time when women feel something in their breast, they do think about cancer, even though they may not have heard much about it. But it is the fear that this is cancer and they may lose their breast. And that has a significant impact on them. So that's why breast cancer overall awareness, breast cancer education, and teaching women, educating women about the signs and symptoms of breast cancer. That when a woman feels something or has some other symptoms of a breast problem, as has been suggested by Dr. Jacob, you want them to think about getting in to see, even if it's their primary care doctor. And what we want to happen, which is very effective, is a clinical breast examination. Now, women do self-breast examinations. They have to be taught how to do it effectively. But the most effective early way is a clinical breast examination. And that doesn't have to be done by a physician. It can be done by a nurse who has been trained to do these examinations. And then they can refer them on to their primary care doctor if the primary care doctor is not available for whatever reason. And I know that the primary care doctor is usually the first physician that a woman may see, because the primary care doctor takes care of all of other health issues. All of other health issues. So that's an opportunity to initiate the process of treating, hopefully, the breast cancer. And that's what needs to get done.
If you're to give a woman a crash course on self-examination, a minute tops.
I'm just gonna say right now, you're asking men. I'm just gonna put that out there, right?
I'm thinking doctor is a retired professor.
Still,
and you would have had experience, and then myself, Dr. Yakabi, oncologist, would have also dealt a lot with this. No intent to offend.
No. I'm saying in the sense of when just like how when men want to go in and see a doctor to treat a prostate, right? It's more for us as women, we want to be able to be comfortable. So it's one of those ways of, I think, consultation and asking women to check themselves is in my opinion anyway, it's a more easy conversation to have than to say, come in and I will do that for you.
In defense of you,
yes.
That's why I mentioned nurses. Okay, I work with I have a long experience working in a breast clinic. So one of the first things we did was recognize this issue about who do you talk to when you have a breast problem? Who is most comfortable? With whom the patient is willing to have a conversation. And obviously it came to us that it was a nurse who was trained, and the patient didn't mind seeing that woman, nurse, to teach them how to do a self-breast examination, and the nurse herself would then conduct the clinical breast examination. So the nurses play a great role in this. This is why I'm saying that we can teach those individuals who are been trained, who want to be trained, can be the quote-unquote primary physician and primary provider in teaching women how to do breast examinations, teaching women in breast health education in general. And that will make a great difference. But I agree with you, it's best. Men can do it, but I can tell you from experience.
Because and I mean it goes the same thing for gynecologists and so forth. But I saw that we were putting on this screen, Paul, the different stages and so forth when it comes to breast cancer and so on. And Dr. Walker, your comment that one of our fears is that we would lose one of our breasts because it does a lot to your psyche as a woman, right? But that is at the final stage. That is when you can't do anything else to treat or to assist. So based on the stages, what are some of the treatments that we can provide for this cancer?
And that's a good question. I mean, let's put again, the first thing is we want to have more early cancers. As you've correctly mentioned, we won't be able to prevent it, but we can certainly detect it early. So for patients who have a stage 1 cancer, and we can think of it of a pea-like shaped tumor, very small, surgery, and depending on findings, the patient may require endocrine therapy, which are tablets that patient takes for a couple of years, or chemo. For stage 2, the same thing applies. Now, for a stage 3, the treatment becomes much more aggressive. Those patients will require chemotherapy and, in addition, radiation therapy, which we don't have availability. And even though it's not available here and available abroad, because of financial constraints, patients are unable to even gather the finances to start it at the adequate time. So the window of time loses. And in patients who have a stage 4 cancer, that is not medically curable. So the patients will continue only with palliative treatment in the form of chemo, endocrine therapy, but not a cure. And that's one of the main barriers that we're seeing, patients coming early. They're coming in already when the stage is too advanced. And it's difficult having those conversations about not being curable when a patient comes with a stage 4 cancer.
So in other words, this the chances of this leading to death is high.
The patient will die from a stage 4 cancer.
The patient will die.
Yes.
I didn't want to say it like that, but I appreciate it being put like that.
But
you will die at stage 4.
The comment of them coming in with their lymph nodes already at a dramatic stage, what kind of conversations do you have with these women? Because I don't know, I think about myself and the other women around me, but personally, I wouldn't want it to get there, right? You know something is wrong, and you can't treat it anymore. So the surgeries and so forth, do you have this conversation as to what would happen afterwards?
It's a very difficult conversation, and we actually go through different training and communication skills on how to deliver this type of news and how to approach treatment options for patients, because everyone is different. And we're very empathetic when we're giving those news. It's not just coming in and giving
the bad news.
No, we do it. We have to do it by steps, because it doesn't only affect the patient; it affects the whole family.
Yes.
And about breast cancer and every other type of cancer, it affects society. For those 4 women who are coming in with stage 4 cancers, all of them are leaving 3 to 4 orphan children.
Yeah.
And
what is the youngest patient that you have seen?
With breast cancer, 26 years old. A 26-year-older.
Okay, and this is way before the 40-year.
Yes, and that's where the breast awareness comes in. It's not only the mammograms, but recognizing that abnormalities in the breast.
I'd be interested in knowing if there is a demographic based on studies that are largely affected by breast cancer.
Not necessarily demographics. I would say that with respect to demographics and presentation with respect to stage, you do see a higher stage of presentation in women who have less access to health care across the board.
Period.
For the reasons you mentioned earlier, they do find something in their breast, but then again, they are reluctant to go in to get care. Well, do they have is care available to or for them? How easy is it to get in? Okay, and this is what one of the issues Dr. Yakaba is facing right now. Is he's having discussions, broader discussions about, from an administrative point of view, how do you get someone in who has what he would call an early breast cancer, a possible early breast cancer, in to get a clinical breast examination and/or a mammogram when things are early. How easy is it to get that done?
Yeah.
If it's not easy, then they wait to get in.
Yeah.
So back to the point, it is economic issues, it is access issues, and it affects individuals who at the lower economic and social levels, most of those who have better resources.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's just reality.
Right. So then, as we wrap up our segment, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and hence this conversation. Thank you very much. But what is it that we are, or you all are doing, KHMH, to counter these issues, socioeconomic issues, access issues, and so forth for women? Because the awareness, I guess, is there. We know it. We celebrate it. But what are we doing to assist?
I'll step in there. I mean, two things about what we're doing as a hospital, and then about the awareness. About the hospital, we're working together. A community needs to be built, and the KHMH now is offering service for patients diagnosed with cancer. Not only those diagnosed, but those ones with suspicion. So we have patients who have altered mammograms come in for evaluation. They have an evaluation by the interventional radiologist when need be for biopsy sampling, or the surgeons. We have the radiological studies like the CAT scans that are needed to adequately stage the cancer, and then decide on options. Is it going to be surgery or not? If it's surgery, we have the whole team there of surgeons actively involved. And we also have that part with the chemotherapy and endocrine therapy. Now, the limitations come when it comes to access to radiation, because we don't have a secure referral for radiation. Then it will depend on finances. And what we're doing as a hospital, we've been having discussions one-on-one generally with companies and raising awareness with staff on breast cancer, and actually starting at home at the KHMH, increasing awareness. Now, to your point about awareness, it's there. I may have a little different opinion there. And why is that? Breast cancer and cancer on the whole is only remembered in October. The rest of the year, it's completely forgotten, and that's where we're seeing at the hospital the end spectrum once the patient has been diagnosed. In what conditions? It depends. But where we want to really increase is the awareness, because it takes much more than the hospital. It does take a country here. It's greater than just the ministry. The Ministry of Health has been doing, and the NHI has been increasing capacity through distribution of mammograms, training, and ongoing discussions to improve the care once it's been diagnosed. But the breast awareness part, different social members come in. It's easy for me to hear on the radio more advertisements on potential cures with alternative treatment than discussion recommending doing mammograms or doing pap smears. And we're not seeing much advertisements or social media posts regarding cancer on the whole, except for October, and that's a reality.
Right.
So we have to work on the breast awareness part too.
I definitely, I will agree with you on that one. And even so, in talking about the early stages, how young women might not even really know, I would want to know about these things the minute, you start to develop and so forth. I would want to hear about this in my classrooms and so on. We don't necessarily talk about reproduction and biology like this in this context in schools. So you're absolutely right. We need to have more awareness, and building this awareness comes in these conversations, right? So I want to say a big thank you to you both for stopping in, having the conversation with us. And let's move on in talking about breast cancer awareness outside of October. That means you're going to come outside of October to have the conversation, right?
Of course.
Wonderful, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking to Peak Outsourcing and their current hiring initiatives. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Government school. I think it was the evening. My mom got out of her room and she shouted that I had won the essay competition. I felt excited that my school got a prize because my school needs it. I remember one morning waking up to the news that my cousin was in an accident. It was an uncertain and fearful situation until we learned that she was going to be okay. Unfortunately, not every family member is as lucky as we were. Many families lose loved ones to traffic accidents, and I cannot help but wonder how many accidents can be avoided if only people would keep their eyes on the road and mind on the drive. We are all humans, so what the driver misses, another passenger in the vehicle may catch just in time to save lives.
With Cleanne winning this competition, not only shows that Cleanne is a brilliant student, it also shows that the quality of education provided here at Hattieville Government School is exceptional. A big thank you to BEL. The donation will be used to refurbish the computer lab. I believe it will enhance their learning capabilities, and it would also better equip them for this technological world that we're now living in. Thank you to BEL. Keep up the good work and encouraging students to read more, write more, and participate in competition. And also to note that BEL does not only provide electricity, but that they also engage the communities in a lot of positive ways.
Wake up! Now which cheese you think you may eat all the while? Gallo cheese with the blue rooster on the label is the traditional and the real deal. The original Dutch, redback or hard cheese in a Belize. Be aware! Check your label and make sure it is in English and for the Belize market. Gallo cheese with the blue rooster. The real deal. Santiago Castillo Limited, supporting and building our Belizean community for 95 years and counting.
Gaia Edam Dutch cheese, aged and tropicalized, the best formula for the Belize market, exclusively distributed by Santiago Castillo Limited.
My name is Hermine Vega. El Patio Grill has been using Belize Bank for over 25 years. We only use Belize Bank at our restaurant. That's why we were able to win this trip to Europe. I had never been to Europe. We found out it was Madrid and we were excited and we went to this football match. The teams reached before the game and everybody was just outside, you know. You can't explain, the noise just roared like 3 blocks down the street, but when you got in there and you saw 70,000 people in there, that was amazing. I couldn't believe it was happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real, you know, because it's a one-in-a-lifetime experience, I'd say. My lucky plus one was my son. He's 18 years old, so he was really excited and he enjoyed it as well. He said this is his best trip ever, so it's a priceless experience that we got. Belize Bank has always been there for me. Whatever transactions or whatever I need to do, they're always there for me. I would recommend everybody to use Belize Bank. It's the oldest bank in our country and they continue to do their best.
Are you a dynamic and charismatic personality with a passion for storytelling? Do you have a unique voice that captivates audiences and a talent for bringing stories to life? We are looking for fresh faces who are energetic, engaging, and natural in front of the camera or microphone. If you are passionate about acting or voice work, we want to see what you've got. To register, email producer@channel5belize.com or call 670-6068.
Joining us for our final conversation this morning, we have the crew here from Peak Outsourcing to talk about their new hiring initiatives. To my left, we have Talent Acquisition Specialist 2, Nigel Cetina. Good morning.
Good morning.
And next to him, we have Mr. Orson Picard. He is the manager at the HCBP of Peak Outsourcing. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having us.
And next to him, you have Naeem Polanco, who is also a talent acquisition specialist at Peak Outsourcing. Good morning. Good morning, gentlemen. Okay, what is Peak? Sell it.
Good one. All right, so it's exciting times for us here at Peak Outsourcing Belize. Well, actually globally, we are a global company. So we have additional spaces and branches in the Philippines, Makati and Dumaguete.
Wow.
So this year we're celebrating our 13th anniversary as a company. And so we had celebrations in Dumaguete, in Makati, also in Belize here. We had our Coachella anniversary over at Old Belize. This was in September. And so we invited the entire staff out. It was Coachella style. Our CEO, Chuck, was here. Everybody from management in Belize was there and the employees. And we had some awesome giveaways. We had fun. Obviously, we took pictures as well.
Yeah.
But to Peak. Peak started in 2011 as Pinoy Partners Outsourcing Incorporated. This was in Makati. Over the years, what we did is that we started to get new spaces in Makati and Dumaguete. So we were at staff count of 16 and then it went up to 88. In 2021, we acquired additional spaces in Makati. As of now, as a global company, there are over 1,000 of us globally. And so we made landfall in Belize to say in 2022, and since then we've just been pounding the ground and making sure that we provide stable employment, gainful employment for residents of Belize City and as far as the outer districts if they can actually make it on time to do the coverage here.
Why should I go work at Peak Outsourcing?
Definitely, for what I said, it's stable employment, and we also offer upward mobility. It's a real thing at our company. Many companies use that as a selling point, but it's not really true because they're so big and established already. Because we are continually expanding in Belize, we offer non-agent positions as well. So I can tell you this. So I started off as the senior talent acquisition person over at Peak. Currently, I have transitioned from that role to the HR manager, or what we call human capital business partner manager. Currently, Nigel is in a transitionary stage as well to move into the senior talent acquisition position. Naeem is in a transitionary stage to move into Nigel's position. And so upward mobility is a real thing over at Peak.
I appreciate that. And so let's get Nigel, Nigel Zatina into the conversation. As a talent acquisition specialist, and I like that.
It's a very fancy name.
Yeah.
Specialist.
So in your field, what is it that you all look for in terms of the talents that you must have and bring to the table?
Well, as you know, when it comes to the call center, it's a lot of call centers in Belize, right?
Yeah.
So we try to look for something different within our candidates. We look for people that want to move up within the call center and not just stay as an agent. And that really motivates them to put in the work. For me personally, what I look for people that are dedicated, that want to come in every day, not just look at call center as a job, but as a career, because that's basically what I want, and that's what I wanted for myself when I just started. I didn't want to just stay as an agent. I wanted to move up, and that's what I was offered at Peak.
You started as an agent?
At Peak, no, I didn't start as an agent. I started as talent acquisition specialist number 2, and then I worked my way up to senior talent acquisition.
What does it mean for you to be in an administrative role when you think about the fact that others, there's a lot of people saying, oh, there's no upward mobility in call centers?
Well, when it comes to this year, I show people when they come into my office, we do the interviews, I give them examples of how upward mobility looks like in our company. I use myself as an example, Mr. Orson, Naeem, and other agents that has moved up from just that position into something bigger. And all of them are very interested, and they want to get on board when they hear those stories from us.
What do I need to have in order, what skills are you looking for?
Yes. Basically, first of all, to get hired at Peak, you need to provide us with an updated resume or CV, your social security, copy of that. You also need to provide us 2 recommendations, proof of banking account, for example, for us to be able to provide you, give you your salary.
Of course.
And of course, a clean police record. The skills that we're looking at for the current accounts is basically at least a high school diploma, have at least 1 year of sales. In this case, it will be reservations. And of course, have that great customer service and sales drive to be able to attend to our customers' needs.
For you, not only what drew you to Peak, but what made you stay?
Just like Nigel mentioned, upward mobility. For me, it's all about growing in the BPO sector, learning more. And basically, that's it, growing as a person.
Now, Mr. Picard, Peak Outsourcing, what's your philosophy on being an integral part of the community in terms of ensuring that you're not only hiring, but you're adding value to those within the company and the communities that they come from?
We have several CSR initiatives that we have started to implement. One of them came earlier this year when we actually signed the MOU for job placement with the Belize City Council. This is for all city residents, whereby they prefer whereby they provide us with referrals, and then we do our due diligence and screen those potential candidates for job placements. Apart from that, we are a part of most of their initiative going into the end of the fourth quarter right now. So there is the Christmas tree lighting. There are several initiatives that's going to be held in public spaces over this weekend. There was supposed to be the super sale that got postponed due to inclement weather. And so we are still set to be a part of that once the new date has been secured. Apart from that, we're making sure that you had NCFC on just now. I know a couple of weeks ago you had the National Women's Commission. Yes. These are different non-governmental organizations that we have partnered with a few months ago to ensure that we can assist them with executing their mandate, but also making sure that on Peak's part that there is that corporate social responsibility, and we also make sure we use that platform for branding visibility as well. So we have to be honest about that. We want branding visibility, but at the very same time we want to make sure that we're authentic in terms of wanting to assist our NGOs with executing their mandate. So we have Ellen Borland, who recently joined us. She is our engagement specialist. She will be reaching out and touching base for a second touch base with the 13 NGOs that we have initially reached out to already, just to make sure that she provides a new introduction, and then so she and Nigel can take over those initiatives as I continue to transition, but still provide some oversight. So we are making sure that the roots of Peak are being embedded in the community first.
I love that, and I love that you collaborated with NGOs. And just kind of to piggyback on other current initiatives that you all are doing for hiring employees, do you all do scouting? The University of Belize just graduated, what, over 500?
No, close to 900.
No, close to 900, yeah, graduates. Is there any opportunities where you all are looking at particular persons after they've graduated from college, from high school, so that they could come and work with you?
Very interesting point. Thank you for bringing that up. Because now then I can make this announcement to all of the secondary and tertiary level institution heads that I have reached out to in the past. Peak has a memorandum of understanding that we want to sign with all secondary institutions and all tertiary level institutions. So from the University of Belize, Dr. Vincent Palacio, sir, I'm going to be sending you a follow-up email as well. All right, and this is for job placement, and not only job placement, but also offering students micro-credentials. Oftentimes when you graduate from secondary school, you have no job experience.
Right.
Right, so with Peak, what we're going to be doing through Peak University is offer training, competency-built training. So digital literacy, we're talking about knowing different CRM platforms, we're talking about communication, effective communication. And so all of these and others will be added to their then resume for micro-credentials. And the school of thought with that is that, well, we're training you. There's not a problem if you, at the time, do not get hired with us, or you probably choose to go somewhere else. But chances are that you will want to stay, because we would have shown you what our culture is like over at Peak, and you can get gainful employment being that you have already been through the training.
Why is Peak Outsourcing a good place of employment for someone with a bachelor's degree, per se?
Because the money is really good.
And does your degree hold any weight in terms of upward
in some
mobility?
non-agent positions, yes, it does. Right? So I can tell you that I wouldn't have gravitated towards the BPO sector. Use me as living proof. I wouldn't have gravitated towards the BPO sector if there wasn't a career path and if it didn't pay good. One thing that I oftentimes tell people, part of the reason why I'm over at Peak is because I will never compromise my mental health for any job, any at all. If I have to go to work and stress over a job, then I do not need to be there. Over at Peak, my mental health is safe because we are given our terms of reference, we execute, nobody has to be micromanaging us any at all, and we make sure that that is translatable across the company. And how does that become translatable? From the beginning, you have to set the expectations. If you do not set the expectations, then people are allowed to run rampant. So you set the expectations, reinforcements, and follow-ups. And then that way, you do not have anybody who has to say, I have to go to work again today. Z-Geners, Y-Geners, there's a different way to communicate with them. And so you have to be able to know to give them that wiggle room so that they can still operate, have activities, fun engagement at work so that they want to suit up every day and show up.
So
the company has to be proactive in that part.
So Mr. Zatina is not a place where dreams go to die,
no.
Some would say.
No. When it comes to this here, everybody has that opportunity with Peak Outsourcing. I never thought, and I'm going to be honest, I never thought that I was going to work at a call center in my life. I've been to two so far. Peak would be my third. And from what I've experienced, Peak is completely different from the rest. The culture is nice. Everyone is welcoming. We treat everyone like a family at Peak Outsourcing. And that is one thing that I sell to applicants when they come in. I let them know how the culture is, how engaging we are. We're not just, okay, you come to work, you do your shift, and you leave. We have different activities here that keeps the agents engaged, not just being at a cubicle all day. So it's a very good environment that we have created there at Peak. Welcoming, fun, and the list goes on.
I know that you've been listing all of your recent current hiring initiatives, but you also have an open house that is coming up this week.
Yes.
Talk to us about that and what perhaps new employees can be looking forward to.
I can definitely share a bit and then have Naeem and Nigel jump in on this. So this particular line of business that we are currently hiring for, we're looking for, the positions are 40.
40?
So, yes, 40. Yeah. So over the last 2 weeks, we've been getting a lot of traction, right? And I guess it's because of the weather, while the traction has died down a bit, hence the reason our appearance here. This is part of our marketing strategy. And so what we are doing is to urge individuals who are interested to reach out to us via email or phone call. It's recruitbelize@peakoutsourcing.com, and we're hiring for 40. It's for reservation specialists. So if you have done a reservation campaign before, I can name some, but I will leave that alone. But if you have done a reservation campaign, and or maybe you have worked in the tourism sector, all right, you are eligible. You need to only have 1 year of experience. In terms of the competencies, let me just say this as well. I guess we can bust this bubble here or share this. This particular campaign pays $10 an hour. All right.
Here, what the hours?
Yeah. So you work for 5 days and you get your 2 days off. That is contingent or predicated on what your schedule will be. But Naeem can talk to you a bit about the other competencies.
Yes. And just to further what Mr. Orson mentioned, he mentioned $10, but that's not including bonuses and commission that you'll earn. So this campaign particular pays a lot for those who have that sales drive. So for this particular campaign, as part of what Mr. Orson was saying, is we're looking for the basic high school diploma that the person have. We also look for at least a year in sales experience, particularly in reservation. And then again, the that sales drive and customer service. And the hiring process at Peak Outsourcing is very fast. Within an hour, you get hired. So it's a very easy process and fast.
Are these shifts regular 8-hour shifts? How many hours do you work?
Well, it is 8 hours. The coverage for this specific one is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Sunday to Sunday. With that, if you work on the weekends, your days off will more than likely fall within the week. And then once you've completed training, that's when you get your official shift. And then from there, you know what time you will need to come in, and it's 8 hours a day.
That's what I was going to ask, because sometimes with these particular positions, you are required to have a little bit of skills, right? Even though you come with a high school diploma, you still have to be able to enunciate and eloquently speak, and all of these different ways that you have to communicate with persons. How long is the basic training?
For us, the basic training is for 2 weeks.
Okay.
That is basically our product training, where we deep dive what basically the campaign is about and what you will be doing on that campaign. So it's a very extensive training, a lot of information, and it moves pretty quickly.
Is this temporary, or is this a full-time job opportunity?
But this is full-time. Everything that we offer is full-time over at Peak Outsourcing. And to Nigel's point, while it is you work 8 hours a day and you get 5 days a week and you get 2 days off, there is a lot more that actually goes into that training as well, because once it is that you are in the what we call the product knowledge training, which deep dives into the specific campaign, normally we would request that you come in 3 days prior to that, and this is for foundation training. So this is just to brush up your skills on customer service and or sales and the different competencies that you would have to need to move forward in the product knowledge training, which would normally happen 4 to 2 weeks the week after that.
Wow. Well, gentlemen, as we wrap up our segment this morning, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to look into the camera there and to ask persons to join your team.
As well, I don't think we even got to hear when and where.
The open house?
The open house.
Yeah, that's why. So,
yeah,
opportunities.
All right, great. So our open house is this Wednesday and Thursday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. At Peak Outsourcing on Coney Drive, Belize City. It's 259 Coney Drive in Belize City. It's right next to the health facility, Northern Health.
It's actually next to us too, a
Yes.
little bit more up.
Right next to the health facility across from the Whitfield Tower. We are going to be having refreshments and of course finger food. As Nigel had said, the process is very quick. You can be in and out within an hour and have a job. $10 an hour right now.
And that doesn't include bonuses. So we welcome anybody who has that experience that we're looking at, the 1-year sales experience in reservation. We welcome also people in the tourism industry who have done reservations before. If you have a high school diploma and if you have that sales drive and customer service, we're here ready to hire you.
Yeah, so just come along. We want you to join the family. Quick and easy process. Get in, get out. You know that you have your job right away.
Wonderful.
Somebody just asked me to ask about part-time opportunities. Does that exist over there at Peak, or are you primarily looking for full-time employees?
Currently, it's something that we would be open to explore, but our current hiring needs is strictly for full-time right now.
That makes sense.
As we have any updates, we'll come back on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you, gentlemen. Excellent, excellent. All right, we are going to take a final break and we'll be back straight to wrap things up. Don't go away.
Hey Manuel, what's up bro? What you doing here?
I'm just checking out the new electric buses. So tell me, have you submitted your bid on them?
No, I haven't done so as yet. Actually, I don't know how it works. Can you tell me more?
Of course. Come on in, let's check it out. As you know, the Belize City Council is managing 2 for the Belize City routes. But now, the government is looking for private operators to manage 3 for the district routes. These new buses were funded by the European Union, and they are bigger and more comfortable for the district routes between Belize, Corozal, and Cayo.
So how does the management work?
UNDP owns the buses and charging stations for now, but private operators will manage everything: staffing, operations, and maintenance. The government will oversee the process. It is a great way to build your own business.
That sounds like a solid opportunity. So how do we as operators get involved?
It's a competitive process. They're looking at your experience, relevant resources, management skills, and of course, best value. If we win, we get a 2-year contract to operate these bad boys.
That sounds like a win-win opportunity. Might be time to get my bid together.
That's right.
Only those who have sent their expression of interest can submit their bid for an opportunity to be a part of the future of transportation. For more information on the bidding process, please contact the Chief Transport Officer at the Department of Transport at 828-9239. Bids are open until November 2024.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connections, pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Are you a dynamic and charismatic personality with a passion for storytelling? Do you have a unique voice that captivates audiences and a talent for bringing stories to life? We are looking for fresh faces who are energetic, engaging, and natural in front of the camera or microphone. If you are passionate about acting or voice work, we want to see what you've got. To register, email producer@channel5belize.com or call 670-6068.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are closing off our Monday morning show for today, and we just want to say a big thank you to all of our guests for coming in and having the conversation with us, whether that be from the folks at NCFC, UNICEF, New Beginnings, KHMH, and Peak Outsourcing. Thank you all so much for joining us here and Open Your Eyes and having these conversations with us. And thank you to our viewers, because without you, this show would not be possible. It is October 28th.
Yeah.
And if it is your birthday, we would like to say a happy, happy birthday to you from all of us here at Open Your Eyes and Channel 5. And if you have a birthday shout out or just a question or a comment, you can drop us a line right here at oye@channel5belize.com.
And of course, you can catch us on Facebook every single day where we go live on Open Your Eyes BZ.
And you can also check out all of our bloopers, behind the scenes, and highlights over on our Instagram at OYE Belize. If you would like to join us again, you can join us here every day. And tomorrow, when you open your eyes,
start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
It's going to be a rainy one today, Belize, so please do your best to stay dry, stay safe out there if you're on the road, and keep your eyes, your minds, and your heart open always. Have a wonderful day, Belize. Goodbye.
Was brought to you by Smart, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.